Allora, per non andare troppo in là, per non fare troppo tardi, ragazzi, direi che è il momento di buttarci su quest'altra cosa. GameSpot ha fatto un documentario su Cyberpunk 2077 che si chiama Come Cyberpunk 2077 ha cambiato CD Projekt Red. Io mi aspetto che sia una cosa simile a quello che hanno fatto i ragazzi di Round 2, che sono Fossa e Mottura. Dovrebbe essere una cosa più o meno simile come approccio, cioè andare a parlare con i membri di CD Projekt Red per parlare di come questa cosa ha impattato sull'azienda, eccetera. Io non l'ho visto, ovviamente lo sto vedendo insieme a voi per la prima volta, questo documentario, no? Per questo ho aspettato a portarvelo. Però mi dà l'idea di essere una cosa simile, vediamo un po'. Emily Doxer, grazie mille della sub. Grazie di cuore. Per 2 mesi di fila. Allora, quindi, di nuovo, niente musica, audio al desktop, cuffie. Eccolo qua. Allora, io ho messo i sottotitoli. La cosa buona è che ci sono i sottotitoli in inglese, quelli, diciamo, fatti proprio per il video, il che vuol dire che la traduzione automatica dovrebbe essere relativamente efficace. Ok? Un po' paura per la serie TV su Horizon Zero Dawn. So che pensi che il rischio possa floppare alto. Potrebbero, ma abbiamo modo di discutere in un altro momento. Ok, vediamo un po'.
On September 23rd, fans and developers gathered in London to celebrate the upcoming launch of Phantom Liberty, the highly anticipated expansion to Cyberpunk 2077. The whole venue had been converted into a club straight out of Night City. Guests showed up in costume, live bands performed music from the game, and even the star of Phantom Liberty himself, Idris Elba, made an appearance. Looking at all this, it's hard to believe that things weren't always this way for Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk 2077 is phenomenally buggy.
Constant overbearing glitches.
This game is unfinished.
It's no secret that Cyberpunk 2077 had a rough launch. Despite that, it sold millions, but not without the burden of a tarnished reputation of a beloved studio.
We treat this entire situation very seriously and are working hard to make it right.
And now, developer CDPR
Mamma mia,
is on
quella
the verge
comunicazione
of
da
fulfilling its
funerale me lo
biggest
ricordo.
promise yet, to redeem Cyberpunk. With only a few days before Phantom Liberty's release, we decided to pack our bags and fly to Warsaw, Poland, to talk to the team directly about the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, and the lessons they learned along the way.
Not everybody had this clear picture, where are we, what's happening.
It was really
Ho fatto un salto sulla 2.1, no in realtà, però ho giocato alla 2.0.
Most importantly, we
tu,
wanted
ragazzi,
to
mi deve
know
follow,
what
benvenuto.
redemption looks like for CD Projekt Red.
You cannot just put the spell on people and tell them, okay, believe.
It's like step by step, we try to regain that trust.
I'm waiting for the fans to see what they say, because this is the most important thing for us.
We can call it redemption because it's easy. I think it's more complex than that.
CD Projekt Red is a huge deal in Poland. It's one of the largest companies in the country and is considered a point of pride among many of its people.
The video game developed here in Poland that's won fans the world over, The Witcher.
However, what really put CD Projekt Red on the map was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. While other major game publishers were starting to catch wind of the live service model and trying to find new ways to monetize games, CDPR doubled down on its single-player RPGs. For many, myself included, The Witcher 3 was a breath of fresh air. It went on to sell millions and garnered universal acclaim from fans and critics.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of the best video games ever made.
That's what it said in the front page of GameSpot.com. when I woke up this morning.
However, this story starts well before the release of The Witcher 3. On January 10th, 2013, the team released a teaser for their next ambitious project based on a niche tabletop RPG, Cyberpunk 2077. There was a lot of interest right from the get-go, but with the success of The Witcher 3, expectations continued to rise. All the while, CDPR was staffing up in order to match their own lofty ambitions. So we've made it to Warsaw. We are on our way to the CD Projekt Red office to see the launch of Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
So here we are. So you enter the place with those two great statues of Geralt, of course, and the V and all the awards that had in the covers. Here we are. This is localization, and localization for CDPR is obviously the thing that was always big. If you remember Baldur's Gate, the first one, it was actually the first game in Poland to be localized to that scale with really actors that everyone in Poland knew. Here's gameplay. So we had a bunch of initiatives where everyone was invited to play the game, see what it's like, give their feedback. We have some social gatherings from time to time, every, I'd say, 2 months or so.
Andate a vedere se lancia il gioco, il giorno dopo si arriva tutto il merci. No, ma mi sa che... mi sa che in realtà questo è dopo. Nel senso che stanno ricostruendo la cosa.
Team. I don't know about else, but top, of course.
Hey! This is our motion capture studio. We use Viking system. We've got 104 cameras. Both the base game and the EP one were shot here. All of the gameplay is done here. Cinematics we shoot here, so those are more complex shoots because we have to sort of like create a physical environment for the actors to interact with.
I've done a lot of studio visits over my career, but I've never had this much access. Sections of the office dedicated to the forthcoming Witcher title were off limits, but beyond that, we were able to wander the halls, chat with devs in the break room, and get a feel for the atmosphere. Chris even snuck away for a bit to film all of the office dogs.
And his name is Geralt. The funny thing about it is that it was not them who gave the name to the dog.
That's what we heard.
Yeah, so they bought him, and his name was Geralt, which was like, as if, he was meant to be their dog apparently, because how would anyone name a dog Geralt and then sell it to people who
Approvo, avrei fatto la stessa cosa. Fanculo agli studios. Vai, cagnetti. Vai. Ma se vai a fare un reportage per un'importante rivista e torni con 96.000 foto di cani.
Just generally, how's the atmosphere feel like today compared to 2020?
It was a tough release, let's be honest. Probably you're talking with multiple colleagues of mine and you hear pretty much the same story. It was tough. Most of the crew was actually working from home, so I think it was easier to cope with that, staying at home. But yeah, it was an empty office, like a dead office for months actually. I think after the release, we did everything we could, like literally everything we could. We invested a lot of effort in going with the 1.5 next gen release, where we actually divided a massive part of the team just like fixing the game. And I think I'll be very honest with you guys and say that making the team to work on that game and fix it was really the hardest thing ever. To motivate the team to put more effort was a really hard thing because everyone was so devastated after the release.
Actually, I put so much heart into the main game of Cyberpunk, and to be honest, still so far, it is the game that I've put the most of myself into it, so I have a huge sentiment.
When Cyberpunk 2077 initially launched, how do you encourage people? Because I imagine that was a tough time.
It was a super tough time, and you cannot just put the spell on people and tell them, okay, believe. People, they were lost, they had a lot of different thoughts about things.
Questa è una cosa che si sente anche in altri studi. Rimettersi a lavorare su un gioco per metterlo a posto è veramente snervante.
Person, but one thing was super clear, that we would like to improve things. We are not abandoning this IP. It's great. I can't say that we had one.
Che guardiamo è documentario di GameSpot su Cyberpunk e CD Projekt.
Concepts make people believe that that transformation is not funny, it's real. Organization has changed drastically, I mean, in a very good way. And of course, it was initiated by the release of Cyberpunk 2077. We stopped and we had a lot of conversations what to do, why, and how to improve things.
In the base game, we had this situation, we called it silos, right? So we have art silos, we had narrative silos and code silos, for example. And in each of those are like few departments that were working on their own part and not really looking outside their silos, not communicating very well between each other. And that's definitely something we fixed in the Phantom Liberty. There is like much more communication. We have right now the strike teams working on the quest, so it's not like the quest is made by quest designer and he's just ordering stuff like I need asset here, I need character, I need the car, and those
Questa è una cosa che venne fuori già dal
right now
report
they're working as one team.
di Jason Schreier.
They know what my colleague is doing and how does it affect me.
Il lancio Cyberpunk è stato affrettato per tutto troppo hype generato all'annuncio, i giocatori spingevano per farlo uscire il prima possibile e io temo che la cosa più vera in realtà sia il fatto che non erano all'altezza di quello che si stavano apprestando a fare. Hanno mostruosamente sottovalutato il progetto.
The company created strike teams that consisted of developers from different departments.
Right now, the way we work, we had those agile strike teams, which is 1 or 2 specialists from each discipline working together, and this is a team, so each of those teams is capable of delivering any part of the game, like fully, everything within it.
There are meetings where you have environment artists, concept artists, cinematic animator, quest designer, level designer, etc., FX artists, lighting artists, and they all work as a team and they talk all the time about, like, they review it every day, they meet every week for larger review, they play together the game, they discuss it. So everybody in this team knows exactly what's needed. They come up with ideas, they discuss it, they validate those ideas internally, right? So I need additional location, how much cost.
Sì, all'epoca ne abbiamo parlato veramente tantissimo. Quello che mise fine a tutte le discussioni all'epoca fu proprio il report di Jason Schreier che mise proprio un punto sulla questione e la colpa è stata di CD Projekt Red. Hanno mostruosamente sottovalutato quello che andavano a fare e si sono ritrovati a ignorare, mentire, negare la realtà e poi gli è arrivato addosso in faccia il treno.
Programmers, tech QA.
There's QA, of course.
Different kinds of programming, you know, there's rendering, there's core, and those people are doing God's work, you know.
You need to see the big picture, right? How the work you do, the model you create, the concept you create, you know, the district you're designing, how it works in the bigger context of the whole product. Every milestone, we have the whole studio stop working, and for 3 days they're playing the game from the beginning to the end. But it's really, really worth it to just understand the bigger picture and know what exactly where
sì, alla fine c'è da dire che hanno usato veramente tante risorse per rimetterlo a posto il progetto. Quello sì, e infatti bene, però mio Dio.
You can detect earlier when something is not good, you know.
I think the most important thing is iteration. I think quality equals iteration. So if you can have multiple cycles quicker, you are not waiting like a week to see iterative process from one team, so your team can see it, you know, it's rubbish, let's fix it. I think it was a lesson we learned in the base game, that having this like independent teams creates a silos, and then, you know, it's not making it any easier, really.
The production framework allows those people to talk every day and just give other feedback, and one-up each other and support each other's ideas. Is just invaluable. Like for creative work, I think this is the only way to go right now, really.
We are not perfect. We are in a process of getting better. Mm-hmm. And I ate a cupcake. Sorry.
Lo voglio anch'io un cupcake adesso.
Restructuring is only half the battle, though, and probably the easier one at that. After Cyberpunk 2077's release, CD Projekt Red had a PR nightmare on its
Bene, ma non direi bravi perché se fossero stati dicevano esce il 2022. Infatti, sono perfettamente d'accordo.
And it was getting thrashed by the community. CD Projekt Red had to do the impossible, regain the trust of its players. This is where the communications and technical support teams stepped up. When it comes to AAA game development, typically these teams act as an intermediary.
Mica, quante cose hanno dovuto oscurare.
They take massive amounts of feedback from the community, distill it, find the underlying issues, and share it with the development team.
For us, releases are action mode and we act. We have experience with players' reactions and understanding sometimes what, like on the surface level, is the symptom, let's say, and what it might mean underneath, and then translating it into development language, and then tracking the issues and cooperating with many other teams to act about the things that we, the data that we gather. We are not completely psychic, Sometimes it's really important to players. Sometimes there are very big discussions about what this thing actually does, what it means.
Of course, sometimes we are able to predict some of the stuff that are going to be like, they're a little bit maybe more sensitive or like a bit of like a hotter topic. So like, when we changed like the system requirements, there was like a lot of discussion on that. How do we translate that to players so they understand why are we doing that thing that we're doing? Not just like, oh, here are the new requirements. Like if you don't meet the requirements, I'm sorry. There is like a little bit of like sort of predicting what's gonna be like, what do we need to communicate and how do we communicate this and what could potentially cause a little bit of like sort of a backlash from players if they don't fully understand why we're doing those things. There is also this component of like being reactive. It's like, okay, this is a problem, like how do we communicate this? How do we explain this? So yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Step by step, we try to regain that trust. Stuff like answering to DMs, right? And like actually acknowledging like what's up and with the community, what their feelings are, what the emotions are, what suggestions maybe they have or concerns. Like this is stuff that we also bring back to like conversations with devs and so on.
There's sometimes some issues that are super important for our community and maybe developers think that it's like a minor thing, but us hearing what community is saying, we try to push for it to be changed.
Now let's go quickly over some changes to the UI that I know that a lot of our community will be excited for.
Our community really wanted to have a walk button on PC. Like, to be able to walk around Night City, take in all the views, chill, maybe record some nice videos of that, etc.
Night City, ragazzi, ha qualcosa di ancora con pochi paragoni. Cioè, io l'ho giocato su GeForce Now con tutto il ray tracing sparato a chiodo, no, in path tracing. Madonna. Nonostante lo streaming e nonostante io fossi in Full HD, era veramente qualcosa di notevolissimo.
A lot of that feedback not only informed updates and patches, but Phantom Liberty as a whole. From gameplay design to art direction, the team used all that feedback and criticism, both externally and internally, to rethink some of the game's core ideas.
We learned a lot making the base game. It was a different art style than what we did in the past with The Witcher. So we're learning along the way what is our Cyberpunk, because there are many perspectives of what Cyberpunk is. There's a different Cyberpunk that is for Blade Runner, for Ghost in the Shell. You can name all those amazing titles in pop culture that already have their own perspective on Cyberpunk. So while working on the base game, we were trying to create our own take on Cyberpunk.
When we arrived at kind of the theme of the
Night City dà proprio l'idea di una città assolutamente viva. Sì, adesso. Al lancio un po', però santi Dio quante cose andavano storte, quanta poca roba c'era sul gen, tante cose che non andavano. Troppe.
I wanted everything to have this kind of poetic tie-in, even from like gigs to just exploration stuff, like it all tied in. And, in a way you do that is you try to bring, metaphors and examples. And then as more and more kind of examples came to fruition in the game, it just got all the more solid in everyone's mind. And so you see this over time, it's fun to see, but you see this like velocity almost that just increases as it gets more and more baked in everyone's head.
When we started doing base Cyberpunk, everything was new for us. New lore, new mechanics, first person, weapons, guns, different tone than The Witcher, a lot of things to work out by yourself.
Ed ecco perché le cose sono andate molto storte.
We had to just make all those mistakes and make all those good things and, learn from this, and then we could have applied it here.
Based on those
tra cui l'engine.
Game, we slightly tweaked the art process because Cyberpunk is all about noise. And noise is actually a great thing in an image because
il gioco è giocabilissimo anche senza DLC.
Very shouty, right? But when
Però
you play
vale la pena.
Game, it puts a bit of a pressure on the player to actually see the world, see where he needs to go and understand the world, to be immersed.
Sì, oltretutto nella prima versione del gioco mancavano un sacco di robe.
A little bit more, I guess, immersive.
Sì, il meme di gira incredibilmente bene viene proprio da questo. Cioè, guardate che roba. È così, nel senso, in game è così.
Seen and felt in Phantom Liberty. Everything feels cohesive and has a sense of purpose. This sentiment was also reflected in most of the reviews, but it's important to remember that the reviews are only a tiny slice of the audience. The real test for CD Projekt Red will be the players.
After the update 2.0 rolled out, I was watching some streams, and the streamers were saying they're happy with how it's looking. They're saying they're super excited for Phantom Liberty, and this was already something that is just making me so happy. And that's why I'm anxious for the release day, because in the end we just want them to be the happiest with this. Yeah.
On Thursday, or Friday, I think, and we're trying to discuss work stuff, and we're both just like, I'm too anxious to talk about anything, and me too, and just we knew it should be fine, and that we are confident in what we did, but it's always the reception that it's actually just before the reviews, right?
It was a few
hours before the reviews drop.
We literally scheduled a meeting, and I can't say what it was about. It's
Yeah,
top
yeah,
secret
it's-
stuff. Yeah. But and we're like, okay, so the agenda. You know what? We can't do this.
Yeah,
we
just
can't do this
too-
now.
too
Can't
shaky.
focus.
We were talking to Gabe. I was asking, do you feel like a weight off your shoulder? And he's like, give it 2 weeks, give it 3
Exactly.
weeks, maybe a month.
Trust me, I feel the same
Sì,
way.
le review furono fatte sulla versione
I
PC.
remember the
Assolutamente.
previous release and the fall.
Il che
So
purtroppo,
now maybe
oltretutto,
it's
e lo so per certo perché me ne hanno
PTSD
parlato
thing,
personalmente un
COVID
paio
is a
di
massive
giornalisti,
PTSD. We're quite conservative.
in alcuni casi
Even
hanno
now celebrating
palesemente tratto in inganno il recensore. Perché la versione PC, a differenza delle versioni all gen, era un po' 50-50. Poteva andarti anche tutto bene. Io ho amici.
Before we joined the team for the
Agne
launch of Phantom
mi ha detto:
Liberty,
io ho
there's
giocato a
something we need to
Cyberpunk
clear
pochi
up.
giorni dopo
CD
l'uscita.
Projekt Red is
Era
doing a rolling
perfetto.
release for
Pochissimi
consoles and
bug.
a
È
universal
stato
release for
fantastico. L'ho
PC.
giocato
This
benissimo.
means Phantom Liberty on
Per dire.
PlayStation and Xbox
Io di problemi ne ho
will
avuti.
release at midnight
50% dei miei
local
amici
time. In
hanno
fact,
avuto un
it's
sacco di
already
problemi,
out in
50%
Australia
tutto
and
bene.
New Zealand. The PC
Se è un
version
recensore
will
e lo
drop
giochi in
at
versione
12
PC e va
Greenwich
tutto
Mean
bene.
Time globally. This means that
Non ti sembra il gioco più
everyone
buggato
playing on PC
dell'universo?
will get access at the
E invece,
same time. This release is
qui
what
però sta
everyone is
nella
gearing up for.
onestà di CD Projekt e raccontare le cose come stanno. E se non metti il recensore in condizione di capire che ci sono invece, diciamo, delle cose che non voglio mostrare,
Can't wait to see how people feel about
No,
it.
PC, Agne c'ha il PC nuovo adesso, beata lei.
It's already launched in so many places, right?
It's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's crazy. It's our.
No, le recensioni non hanno fatte su all gen. La chiave delle console all gen è arrivata dopo.
Was Blood and Wine, when we were actually in the studio.
It's crazy on Twitch right now, and it's really surprising that a lot of people are actually starting the game from the beginning, just to slowly get to Phantom Liberty and not just jumping right into the expansion.
We had so many stuff during the day, so right now it's just a little bit of, peace before we actually jump into a lot of people starting to play the game and reacting to it.
Are you nervous at all, or just kind of
Quindi che colpa hanno i recensori? Dicevano questo tipo di difendi che non sono stati furbi, che non hanno preso quello che l'azienda gli diceva e non si sono fatti delle domande extra e ne hanno pagato il prezzo. In realtà non hanno mentito, ma se misteriosamente un gioco non arriva su versioni all gen, devi poterti tutelare. Sì, all'epoca abbiamo fatto un sacco di video all'uscita di Cyberpunk e con degli approfondimenti piuttosto puntuali. Recuperate quello che parla del report di Jason Schreier. Che periodo è stato quello?
Everything is set up a lot earlier by our release team and all of other teams, and we just
Sono felice che hanno trovato la quadra perché santi Dio il gioco che hanno creato in realtà ha come idea, come cuore, come idea, ci stanno veramente un sacco di cose bellissime. Ma era così anche al lancio, solo che era tutto offuscato da questo mare di merda.
He's the one doing final checks before pushing out Phantom Liberty to GOG, Steam, and Epic Games.
About 3 minutes
About
away.
3
from
minutes
launch?
ish, yeah.
Tylko te oczepki na... Okej, dobrze. The big red button, does it do, no, but like, does it do the sound? Yes. It does the sound, holy, no, but this sounds like a failure.
I know, 'cause it's a no button.
It's a no button from the...
Yes.
What sound would we edit?
No, let's not. Like, it doesn't actually look like this. This is not what launch looks like.
No. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So this is happening.
Yeah, it is.
It's
5 seconds.
Pretty cool. All right. I'm gonna go with
In realtà questo documentario, ragazzi, è molto figo perché si tratta proprio di di parlare col team poco prima del lancio e proprio nel momento del lancio. Questa è una cosa notevole.
And this bad boy. So Steam is spinny wheelie. So.
But it's live on GOG, EGS.
Yes. Waiting for Steam to process. And go.
Back to work, please. Speech. Speech. Speech.
Thank you, everyone. Like, it was a quite long ride. We started with some of you more than 10 years ago, with a small announcement, and then a cool trailer, and then the ball started rolling, and it grew and grew over years, and then we beat.
A dir poco.
And then we released cool stuff, and it was amazing. And then it was a little bit bumpy. And
giusto un po'.
Sending proud, sending press releases.
10 more seconds. Don't think.
Cheers, guys.
It's pretty easy to get swept up in the hype and excitement when a new game releases. So much so that it's easy to forget that the people on the other side of the screen are just that, people. Some are just as excited, if not more excited than the fans. Most are nervous, anxious, and tired.
We can call it redemption because it's easy. I think it's more complex than that. We didn't change the story.
I remember at the beginning, we were looking not through the amount of bugs that on the game, but we were looking at it at the release through the things we wanted to put in there, what it is, right? So how we thought it will be perceived, right? The story, the emotions, you know, all the things that we developed for the game. So that's what we wanted to see.
I feel like the true test of whether this is a redemption arc, whether that is, you know, anything related to this, is always going to be by the players. So until the players get the game in their hands and they're going to tell us that, hey guys, this is good, you did good, then I guess this is the redemption arc. The redemption arc is not something that we impose upon ourselves. This is actually something that the players give us feedback on. So if the players are happy, we're more than happy.
In the end, the game is for the people, and you know what we do is for the players. At least what I'm doing is for them to feel some emotions and, you know, maybe like expand their worldview a little bit, and it's up for them to judge, really.
I hope that the players, the world will finally, I think, perceive that we really have like a very
lavorare per una multinazionale in braghetti e ciabatte va a prezzo.
Maximum, you know, we could.
I wouldn't create.
Se alla multinazionale frega cazzi, meglio così. Io sono favorevole.
Our own job. If people feel and perceive it as a redemption story, it's great. Because it's great.
Rubik.
Redemption is not a narrative CDPR gets to decide. It's the community. It's up to the players. That's the story that's being told right now, in real time, by the reception of Phantom Liberty and the hundreds of thousands of fans that are playing it, sharing their excitement and making it part of their lives. The narrative we can actually see. But that is still only a facet of the larger story. On one side, it's about the games and players who are playing it. On the other, it's the passion of the people who are making it, but then there's CDPR itself as a company, as an entity made up of hundreds upon hundreds of people. If there's anything I've learned from this experience, it's that game development is a complex, messy, and unpredictable process. But even still, CDPR is a company, and even in a year of redemption and success, it wasn't without its woes of layoffs. The redemption arc, whether it's No Man's Sky, Fallout 76, Final Fantasy XIV, or Cyberpunk, always revolves around the game. It makes sense. The game is the culmination of everything. That's what the company is working towards. That's what the devs are building, and that's what the public eventually gets to see. But redemption is complicated, deeply personal, and a fundamentally human journey. To put that narrative on a team of hundreds, some who poured everything they had into it, some who left after a rigorous development cycle, and some who were let go, feels.
I mean, it was really fun, also really difficult at times, and now it's gone, it's out there in the world. It doesn't belong to us anymore, it belongs to everyone now, and in a way it's both sad and somehow fulfilling, and like, you know, I'm feeling this completion.
I'm extremely proud of every single studio member, and then I think we did everything we possibly could.
Ah, c'è stato un problema, ragazzi. Qua non mi dà niente.
What we hope this game could be, and I guess the current flow of reviews, I think it's giving a team a proper enclosure. I would say the proper enclosure to not only the Phantom Liberty, but I guess the whole project.
And I believe it's also a good lesson for us, for the future. And it's a matter of how you know, how fast you get up and move forward.
Ok, bene, questo è stato il documentario, ragazzi. È interessante. Allora, siccome è un po' tardi, voglio fare giusto due parole conclusive così. Adesso di solito non interrompo sui titoli di coda, però non c'ho molto tempo, ragazzi, quindi a sto giro voglio andare un po' più veloce del solito. Questo è stato interessante perché è stato un documentario che rispetto ad altri ha mostrato esattamente quello che è accaduto nel momento del lancio di Phantom Liberty, ok? Ed è una cosa che non si vede tutti i giorni, perché entrare, dare libero accesso allo studio di sviluppo nel momento in cui sta lanciando un gioco non è una cosa così comune, quindi bene anche dal lato, tra virgolette, trasparenza, anche se ovviamente questi documentari sono ovviamente editati, nel senso sono delle cose che sono fatte anche in parte in collaborazione con le aziende, no? Tipo sapete il discorso fatto con Round 2, sicuramente anche con GameSpot c'è stata una cosa credo simile. Però questo non vuol dire che non ci siano delle informazioni interessanti e dei punti di vista utili, e quello che è stato piuttosto chiaro è che, come è apparso in altri documentari, CD Projekt Red ha sicuramente subito il colpo moltissimo. Direi che non tenta neanche di minimizzare la cosa, di non mettere in luce il disastro che è stato all'inizio, e però vuole anche rivendicare il fatto di averci rimesso tante risorse per correggere l'errore e per offrire del nuovo materiale. E anche se non sarebbe dovuto andare così, ora perlomeno Cyberpunk è il gioco che sarebbe dovuto essere, effettivamente. E questa è una cosa che vale la pena sottolineare. Io sono stato uno di quelli che ha detto peste e corna CD Projekt al momento del lancio di Cyberpunk, perché purtroppo non è stata solo inadeguatezza, è stata anche onestamente disonestà in certi momenti. Quello che è diventato un meme, il gira sorprendentemente bene sul gen, è in realtà però derivante da un qualcosa che era un'informazione vera e propria, quindi le persone l'hanno tra cui me, l'hanno presa sul serio, da una compagnia con una certa reputazione. Cyberpunk è stato probabilmente il titolo che ha insegnato una volta per tutte a tanta gente a non preordinare mai un gioco. Mai. Tony, grazie mille della sub. Ed è stato anche un campanello d'allarme, spero, per l'industria, e probabilmente il motivo per cui alla fine rinviarono Starfield. Perché questa è una cosa che molti sviluppatori hanno detto a Jason Schreier stesso. quando ha fatto il report anche sul rinvio di Starfield, ma se volete recuperare quello che fu all'epoca c'è il report di Jason Schreier su cui ho fatto un video completo già un po' di tempo fa e che racconta molto bene che cosa è successo per bocca degli stessi sviluppatori. Diciamo che se c'è una fonte che si può considerare tra virgolette affidabile è lui, e con le giuste informazioni e anche con la giusta professionalità. Quindi ragazzi, questo era il documentario, spero che vi sia piaciuto, vedremo altre di queste cose, mi piace molto vederle insieme a voi e vediamo che altro c'è e vediamo che cosa altro ha CD Projekt in serbo per noi. Ora credo che tocchi al nuovo The Witcher, staremo a vedere.